folks, I hope you're all good. Thanks for tuning in. So if you're watching this, maybe your dog has lunged or bitten or growled or snapped at someone, and you're now wondering, has my dog become aggressive? So I want to help you out, unpack it as usual, and come up with a coherent way forward so you're not quite so daunted by the whole thing. The reason I find the word aggression unhelpful is it's an umbrella word. It's a bit like the word stress, for example. It can mean a whole plethora of things. So if I got home from work, my wife looked at me and said, "What's the matter?" And I said, "I am stressed." First thing she's going to say is, "Why are you stressed? What's happened?" And it could be that I've got a stomach ache, a headache, I've scratched my car, I had 3 hours of traffic, or I had a bad day at work. All of those things are completely different, and unless I qualify and quantify what's been going on, my wife's not really going to know. Aggression is very similar. If someone says to you, what's going on with your dog, and you just say, he has become aggressive or she has become aggressive, it doesn't really take the conversation anywhere. They're going to have to say, well, what has your dog actually done? Why have they become aggressive? Why do you think they have become aggressive? And of course, the answer is another plethora of things. Could be that your dog is simply worried and trying to drive something away. They've had a really long day and they just couldn't take whatever it was that was going on anymore, and they needed everybody away from them. Maybe they were guarding a resource, maybe they were in pain, maybe they were frustrated because they couldn't get to something. So that's 5 already, and you could probably write a list of 100, maybe even 1,000 things about why a person could get aggressive and why a dog could get aggressive. It's not labeling the person or dog as this person is now aggressive for the rest of their life, or this dog is now aggressive for the rest of their life. You can see that these words that are umbrella words like stress or aggression, they close down curiosity, they close down diagnosis, and they don't really help you with an understanding or a way forward. I think it's particularly damaging in dog training where a dog is simply labelled aggressive rather than looking at the action and the associated emotion. For example, the dog growled at my visitor. I think they were scared because their ears were back and their tail was tucked under and they were licking their lips and they were looking away before they did it. However, my visitor didn't back off, continued advancing on my dog, and in the end my dog snapped. It removes the label, it gives the dog a voice and a personality, and it's okay to say my dog was scared and they wanted the visitor to move away. So you're watching this, your dog has done something, maybe write it down. What did you think they were feeling? What did they do? Who was there? Where were you? What was going on? What did your dog do the day before even? How do you think your dog was feeling? Were they tired? Maybe were they in pain? Were they hot with the hot weather? Anything like that, you're going to get a nice little diagnosis list of differentials that you can then take to a behaviourist trainer and find a way to move forward. Aggression doesn't have to be a negative, so just like stress doesn't have to be a negative. So if I am at Thorpe Park on a roller coaster or I'm watching my favourite sports team in a cup final and I'm feeling a lot of excitement and stress mixed in together, I'm probably going to look back on that as a positive memory, positive experience. So stress can be positive. Maybe I've given a speech at work, maybe I've had a job interview, whatever it is, can be a very positive thing to have some stress in certain situations. So the weird thing is that aggression can be the same. So, and I think this is relevant because it's going to help you understand that your dog is a living, breathing creature and that aggression is not necessarily a dirty word. So I'll give you some examples of positive aggression first in humans. Sports team playing aggressively, winning the match, maybe a boxer. Another example. I'm out with my wife and somebody attacks us and I am physically aggressive with the person until they go away. And my wife says, "Thank you so much. That was brilliant. That was amazing. I'm so glad you were here." Positive aggression. In dog terms, positive aggression, somebody breaks into your house and your dog chases them away. Or a dog doing flyball or agility and really attacking the task at hand. Or maybe a dog that's doing protection work. Most obvious example, they're really good at protection work and everybody training them sees that behaviour as a positive, but maybe the person on the receiving end of it on a Saturday night in the town centre or whatever, receiving the wrong end of the confrontation with the police, would definitely not see that as positive. So you can see that aggression doesn't have to be negative, and this is particularly relevant for thinking about it from your dog's point of view. So your dog is doing what they think they need to do in that situation. The most obvious is if a dog is fearful and they're trying to drive away the scary thing, the scary visitor. I do a lot of work with people who have dogs that find visitors scary, and there's some lovely things we can do for that, some games and exercises and things to really help. But the behaviour itself is not naughty, because the dog thinks at the time they're keeping themselves safe. When somebody says the dog knows they did wrong, I'll challenge that, because the dog was just doing what they needed to do to defend themselves. They didn't know they didn't know that was wrong. They don't know right from wrong like we do. They don't have a set of morals, ethics, 10 commandments or legislation and law. What they were doing, it was certainly in terms of fear, was keeping the scary thing away. So they didn't know they did wrong. Even if you punish them and they look sheepish after, they're probably just looking worried because you've told them off on top of everything else. The phraseology I really want you to avoid using is phrases like "my dog has become aggressive" or "the dog is aggressive." Dogs are not born aggressive. There is no such thing as an aggressive dog. I've been working with dogs 13 years. I have never met an aggressive dog. I've met dogs that can show acts of aggression in moments, and if we understand the moments and the triggers, the emotions and the stress behind it, then we're going to be able to help them not do it again. To summarise, don't worry too much about the word aggression. Try and actually talk in tangible aspects, such as, why is my dog doing this? What are they feeling? What are they doing? What are the emotions behind what they're doing? What are the motivations behind what they're doing? And then, how can I help them? How can I manage the situation better? How can I avoid triggers? How can I actually help them feel better about the things that they're worried about, for example? And obviously, if you need help doing this, there are behaviourists available. The behaviourists should be talking in those terms. If they're labelling your dog aggressive, might be a little bit of a red flag. If they're not talking in more tangible terms like I've described on this video. Thanks for watching. As always, I do love making these videos. If you enjoy watching them, please consider subscribing, and maybe we can enjoy lots more together. Dog bless.